Hi everyone, in this video I'm going to be talking about how you can show proof of funds for your Canada immigration, whether you're applying for student visa, a study permit, or permanent residency. This video is going to be very helpful to you. This is one of the most important part of your application. If you miss this, I tell you there is a guaranteed chance that the visa application is going to get refused, because nowadays one of the common reasons why people get denied of their visa is maybe insufficient funds, or you're unable to convince us that you're able to sustain yourself or your family, or even take care of yourself during your studies when you arrive in Canada. To avoid that, you need to watch this video. How do I show proof of funds, and what documents we actually need if I'm sponsoring myself, if my brother, my aunt, or my father, my mother, or my aunt, whoever is sponsoring me, if the government is sponsoring me, what documents do I need to show? If I have a personal business and I want to sponsor myself, or my brother has a business and he wants to sponsor me, what documents do I need? If I have a scholarship, what documents do I need to show? And most importantly, how much do I show? If I'm coming with a family of 3, 4, only myself or my spouse, how much exactly do I need to show? To do that, everything I'll be talking about in this video. Hi everyone, my name is Peter Cicely, and in this channel I talk about everything that's to do with studying abroad, studying in Canada, mostly visa application, admission, scholarship, funding. So if you're interested in contents like this, make sure you smash that like button so that so that YouTube can recommend this video to other people. And also, when you subscribe to my channel, whenever new videos are released, you'll be the first person to get notified. And if you have specific questions that I'm not able to address in this video and you need one-on-one guide or mentorship, there's going to be a link in the description, so make sure you visit that link and then reach out to me. I'll be able to guide you through some of the documents that you need. So without further ado, let's get straight to the video. You need to really be able to convince the Canadian immigration officers that you have the money that is available for your study. And how exactly, one of the big questions I get asked is, how much is enough? What is the minimum that I need to show? So in this video, I'm going to be telling you about how to do the calculations to know exactly the minimum that you need to show. There is actually no maximum, right? But make sure you don't show too much of money that you don't have evidence, documents to back up, right? So that also is a red flag. So what is the minimum that is required? So one of the first thing that is required is you need to show the amount of funds that will cover your tuition, your cost of living, right? I'm going to talk about tuition later on. Let me just focus on these two first. You need to show that you have enough money to cover your cost of living, and normally they usually recommend you to show about 10,000 Canadian dollars, right? 10,000 Canadian dollars for you. So you need to show that is available, right? And then if another person is following you, let's say your husband is following you, or you're coming with a child, for any additional person that is following you, you need to show extra the first person, right? If let's say if it's just your husband that is following you, you need to show 4,000 Canadian dollars for your husband, right? And if you have like a child following you, you need to show extra $3,000, so for a family of 2, you are looking at about $14,000 as for cost of living, right? This is outside of your tuition. So if you are going with a family of 3, then you'll be talking about 17,000 Canadian dollars as what will cover proof of funds as cost of living minimum. But if it's just you, let's say, as a lady or as a guy, you're coming for either master's or PhD, you're not married, you need to show at least 10,000 Canadian dollars. That is what they require you to show. Now, the second thing you want to take into consideration is the tuition, right? I'm going to talk about what some of the documents you can show for proof of fund, but I just want to tell you all of this so that you know exactly what you're showing proof of funds for, right? The next thing is your tuition, right? There are different options available. There are some universities, or for some colleges, when you apply for admission, they will give you like a conditional offer, you know. Then that conditional offer can be a couple of things for you to provide, 1 or 2 documents. And then when they give you an unconditional offer, sometimes they can tell you before you apply for a study permit, you need to pay let's say half of tuition, right? And most of these are usually for diploma programs, postgraduate diploma programs. You know, most of the schools are around, I would say 13, you know, 14 to around $16,000 on the average for postgraduate diploma programs and ordinary diploma program, right? So they will require you to pay like half of the money, sometimes maybe like 6,000, you know, 7,000, 8,000 Canadian dollars as the case may be. So each college, you know, they are different, right? But a lot of them are required to do that. And for master's program, a lot of master's program might not necessarily require you to pay. There are 2 sides of it. People usually ask me if they don't, can I just pay? If I pay, will it increase my chances of getting the visa? Not necessarily, okay? If the school requires you to pay for the first semester of tuition, you need to pay that, because it's going to show in your admission letter, right, that you need to pay certain amount of tuition, you know, before so date, right? So the immigration, they're going to look at that document to see that if you've actually paid for that. So you need to make sure you pay it before you apply, and then get a receipt, you know, evidence to show that you've applied. So if you're coming for some other master's program, they might, if they don't require your the tuition to be paid, a lot of them, you know, research programs, a lot of courses they might not require, so you don't need to worry yourself about paying, right? But you need to show that you have that money to pay for your tuition, right? If, for example, your tuition is let's say 20,000 Canadian dollars, you need to show that you have that money available, because technically they want to see that if peradventure you come to Canada and you don't work, you need to show them that you'll be able to sustain yourself, right? So if your tuition is $25,000, you need to have at least, you know, really, if you have the full, it is usually better. But if you have maybe, you know, let's say 70% of that amount is also okay, right? Because when you come here, you're going to be working, and then you can save up for, you know, part of the tuition for the following year, so you can put that together and then get to know exactly how much it costs, right? Now, how do you get to show this proof of funds? You know, there are different ways. Now I'm just going to be giving you some hints from the Canada immigration website. So you need to show evidence. It doesn't make sense, you know, to, let's say you just send 30 million or 20 million or 15 million or 10 million into your account just once, and then number one, you are not employed, you are not working. You can't just put money like that without any evidence, right? So it needs to be systematically and strategically done. Okay, so how do you go about it? I'll just give you some tips. If you are not working, okay, if you are not working, you don't need to stress yourself about trying to, you know, really show your money, because you can't prove it, right? You can't prove it, except let's say the money has been in your account, you know, let's say for a long time, but it's part of that, you still need to show evidence of something, right? And if you are doing, let's say you are employed, that is good. You can show that, okay, you are employed, and this is how much you're earning per month, right? Or you can calculate it per annum just to make it big figure, right? That's one thing. And if you're doing business, you can also show that your source of funds is actually the business that you're doing, and it has to be business that is registered, that it doesn't have to be on your name in terms of the business name, right? So it can be like a different name, but you should be like the owner of the business or shareholder in the business, or, you know, maybe director or something, you know, that really also work. So you need to show that all of the company registration, you know, and that is one thing. So another option you can also do is to if you're doing business, okay, you can send the money from your business account to your personal account, okay? Let's say you send like 5 million, 6 million from your business account to your personal account. that is going to be easy to explain. Okay, so you can easily explain when you're doing your letter of explanation that I've transferred 5 billion or I've transferred 6 million from my business account to my personal account for maybe personal, for easy accessibility, because sometimes business account can take maybe a couple of signatory and all that for you to move money. So when you already have the money, then it's easy to say that you transferred money, right? That is also one alternative. Then the next alternative is if you're not working at all. Like when I did mine, I wasn't working, right? So there's no point really trying to run my account because I can't show any documents that I'm working, right? If you have, let's say, a sibling, your brother or your sister, or your mother, your brother or your sister, that are working, it is very easy to also show that they are going to sponsor you. Okay, and there are two ways of doing this. Okay, either they send the money to your account and then explain that they have sent the money to your account, or they can just leave the money in their account. Okay, when they leave the money in their account, they will show that they have this money in their account and they are willing to sponsor you. One of the way they can do that is to write what is called a letter of sponsorship, and then also write an affidavit of sponsorship. Okay, that can be done in the court, and then you can put your passport, that your sponsor's passport, and then write a couple of documents, a couple of things. When you get to the court, they will, when you tell them you want to do affidavit for sponsorship, they will know how to craft the wordings just to state that this person is my son or my daughter, or is my brother, is my sister, and I'm undertaking to sponsor him or her for their program. For this reason, you can put the name of the school. That is one way to show it. Then another thing you can also do is to do what they call guaranteed investment certificate, GIC. So that one is basically, if you have, let's say, $10,000, $20,000 and you send it to a Canadian account, you can create this GIC account in a Canadian bank, and then they are going to issue you a certificate, right, to say that you have so amount of money in Canadian dollars already in Canada. That is really very good, and I see a lot of universities really also doing that and encouraging their students to do that, because it shows that you already have something in Canada, right? Something to something that's already connecting you to Canada. So that is another thing. And then another option is to get a student loan. Okay, there are a couple of options available for student loan. You cannot either get a loan from the bank or from financial organizations outside of the banks, from credit unions and some other places like that. So you can get a loan from them. Okay, and make sure that the documents are really very solid to see that you have access to this money. They send the money to your account. That's also option. And another thing you need to show is your bank statement, right? If you've sent this money to your account, at least you need to show your bank statement for at least, they require at least 4 months of bank statement, right? Just to show that you have this money account, and for them to see the trajectory of your account in the last 4 months, right? So what people do, if they plan to apply for Canada visa in the next 6 months or 8 months, they will start building their account. You send in big money, you send in big money to the account, you withdraw, send in money, just that the account is running, right? So that by the time you send in big money to the account, nobody is going to question. So if you're already sending in 1 million naira, or let's say $1,000, $2,000, $500, by the time you put like $4,000 directly in your account, nobody's going to question. And if it's from your own country, right, you put whatever is equivalent to $1,000 or $3,000 in your account, calculated by your equivalent, is not going to be a problem, right? Then another option you can also provide as a proof of fund, it's your, if you've paid your tuition, right? If you've paid your tuition, then you're going to have a receipt, right? A receipt from the Canada University to show that you've paid for the tuition, right? Then that way they can that is already removed from the amount of money that you have to show. If you've paid half of the tuition, then you only just need to show maybe like, you know, like maybe like 60% of the restitution plus your cost of living, right? Then another thing is also, if you have scholarship, right? If you have scholarship, that is the proof of fund, right? Sometimes the university can say they are giving you a scholarship of $10,000, you know, $15,000, $31,000. So you need to also make sure you show that letter, especially when you're doing a thesis program or any other program where you get a scholarship. So you have to include that you've gotten a scholarship. That really improves your chances, because they know that this Canadian institution, once they give you scholarship, you are going to get it. They are not going to disappoint you, you know, except maybe when you get there and maybe if your grades really become low, you know, people can lose their scholarship, especially for graduate students, right? If you do masters or PhD, there's a minimum grade you should have. When you miss and you get anything less than that, you're going to miss out of the scholarship. So these are some of the things, you know, that you can show as proof of funds. So if you have any other question that is not clear, if you're trying to put things together, you know, just leave the question in the comment section, right? And if you have a specific question, you know, I will be able to help address. Just tell me what your situation, you know, is, and I will provide that necessary guidance and assistance to you to make sure that you get your proof of fund right. Because one of the reasons why they deny visa is that we are not convinced about your financial status or your assets, right? So that's one of the things. Sorry, I forgot to add that if you have assets, landed properties, you know, houses, and you know, some other investment, right, you can also show your investment portfolio as well, right? So it doesn't necessarily have to be cash or like the money you have in your savings account or whatever. It can be your investment, right? Your houses, your landed properties, and all that are, you know, good assets. You can also show all of this one. So that's it for now.